Welcome to the Rebekah Panepinto Project. Today, I am very excited to host a new friend named Dan. He is a product manager, a mentor, and a community leader who is based in Berlin. He also hosts the Iron Hack and the Startup Architect podcast and co-founded Journey into Product, a monthly networking and learning event that helps to connect Berlin's tech community. Dan is an awesome person, and I'm really excited to unpack the incredible impact that he's making. Enjoy the show. Dan, I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Hi, yeah, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for joining me. You have such an interesting background. Love your podcast, one, but then this world that you live in of product and working with developers is really intriguing. And then even the product market fit that you're going after and what you're doing within your business is really cool. So let's start there with
Mhm.
UBO and how you got connected to those folks and really the problem you're looking to solve within the market.
Sure. As an elevator pitch, UBO is a web automation company. So you'll be familiar with companies like Trivago or Skyscanner, all these sites where you have comparison sites and you can find lots of flights or hotels. Usually, the friction is that the user is then pulled away from that site when they go to buy the ticket or book the hotel. So UBO creates a space where they can keep the users on the platform. And that's one side of the business. And the other side of the business is if you search a flight on, let's say, Google, you look for a flight, or even with Trivago, you look for a vacation. We provide that information to Google and Trivago very quickly, like a very fast web scrape. So it's kind of very deep tech web automation stuff. And really, the point is just to make their lives a little bit easier, just to deliver that information very quickly. So I was just going to say it's like a very deep tech kind of company. There's no real interface. It's just a big JSON dump we give them. So yeah, it's a very yeah,
Very
yeah.
cool. And the initial use case is for the avid traveler. I definitely use Google a lot to find these different deals and where I'm going to get the best opportunity, the best flight. But what are some other use cases that you guys are starting to dabble in and expand?
So we are now moving into recruitment as well as ticket sales. So it's all just like big pieces of data, large data, very quickly moved. We're also developing something called NodeScript, which is it's a visual programming language. Which, if you can imagine, it's literally nodes. It's all object oriented programming, and we use it ourselves for our backend. We use it to make really complex API integrations very simply, and then we just have an endpoint, and it can be used in the real world. So, we're turning that into a product which will then be B2C at some point, which it's an interesting question actually because we're still trying to figure out where that perfect use case is. Who uses this API integration platform that's kind of a programming language, but also like a plug and play thing. So yeah, we're still kind of working through that journey. It's a very kind of exciting time to see who's going to use it and how we can get in front of those people.
Well, the cool thing is UBO can stay anonymous in all of this, and you're serving more the developer community and a product approach versus like you ever being worried about the person searching for their flight
Yeah.
knowing who you are or worried about their customer experience even. So when you think about that and the fact that even though like in this case you're going to be B2C, but still you're worried about the developer experience, the product experience, how do you focus more on solving the problems they're really looking for to then make sure that the customer slash consumer experience is ultimately what you want without that direct input?
It's all about listening to the people we're building it for. I find that like a lot of companies, I mean, startups are specifically quite guilty of this. It's a case of becoming a learning company, speaking to the people you're building your product for, asking them what problems they're facing and how the current product you have meets those needs, and then iterating on that, as opposed to I find it's still criminally um, under recognized that people sometimes build a product and assume that everyone inherently understands its use and inherently understand how it's supposed to be used, as opposed to creating experiences with users as almost like a team member, and making sure that communication is constant. I think that's such a key thing to do, and that's what we're doing at UBO, just to make sure our products stay in the right space and make sure they're delivering what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, I think we can thank Apple for that expectation when it comes to like iPhone, Mac, iPad. It is pretty intuitive and you can kind of
Mm.
just figure it out. But the reality is they've been in business a long time and they've been
Yeah,
doing this testing and this user experience conversation and research for years and years and years to get there. A startup, you've got to go learn, you've got to go fail, you've got to get beat up a little bit until eventually that user experience is a lot more seamless.
exactly. And I think that sometimes it can be taken for granted that things work the way they're supposed to. Even the where buttons are placed on your screen is not it's not an accident. And if you look back, you can do these time machines and see websites from like 2005. And it's crazy. Even back then, like all buttons were big gray blocks with, so we knew as users where to click. And now that we're all trained on it, it's much more seamless. Yeah, and this doesn't come from, from not speaking to users. It comes from this constant feedback and slow iterations. And I think that's something that everyone needs to be aware of, whether they're building products or whether they are, even continuing the life cycle of a product. The learning should never really end.
So is there a split amount of time that you spend with this developer product community you're serving, but also making sure you're hearing from customers, or do you allow that group to be a broker for those conversations on your behalf?
Me specifically, I'm the type of PM who really speaks to users a lot. I do a lot of discovery and a lot of listening to people and gathering feedback and using it to inform decisions. So, in my case specifically, I'm always making effort to speak to power users and to make sure that I keep that cycle going. So, I
Very
think for
cool.
me, it's just better to be, right on the front line of it, and then there's no lost information.
Hmm. What about with testing? Do you get engaged at that level too?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, every feature we build, the team tests ourselves. We use NodeScript specifically a lot within Ubio. So NodeScript is one of our products. We use it ourselves very heavily anyway. So yeah, so we test everything and then make sure it's ready it's user ready before it even sees the light of day. So.
Hmm. So then talk to us a little bit more about your journey even to UBO, because
Mm.
this is, a really fun startup that you're getting your hands dirty, getting super involved, but your initial attraction to being involved in product started earlier. Give us a little bit more background into that.
Yeah, so I actually got turned on to the company I'm currently at because of a community I run here in Berlin. I run a meetup called Journey into Product, which is a monthly meetup just for all product people, which is such a huge umbrella. Anything from designers to developers to product owners and CTOs. It's a free meetup, and every month we have a speaker who talks about something product related. It could be how to build teams, or how to make a new development cycle, or how to build successful design structures and stuff. So we have an hour, 45-minute talk, and then a Q&A, and then it's just a space for people to meet and connect. And the connection came through there. One of the regular people who came there was like, "You have to speak to this company. I know they're looking for a PM right now, and you'd be a perfect fit." So, yeah, it was really serendipitous. It was really nice to use that networking to move into a company that I otherwise wouldn't have found. And so, yeah, it just goes to show these networks and these connections are key.
Well, and it's always fun to have a community like that of
Mm.
like-minded individuals and people that are pushing you to grow and expose you to new ideas and new opportunities. When did the community get off the ground?
It's the 2 year anniversary this week now. So yeah, it's been
Congratulations.
2 years. Thank you. Yeah, and it kind of just exploded very quickly. It just started off as just let's just put something together and get some people talking. And now we have over 1,000 members, which is really nice.
Oh, wow. And then
Mm.
to complement it, you have the Iron Hack podcast, which is
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah. Which also we just released the 100th episode of that yesterday. Actually, the 100th episode released.
Wow.
Yeah, so that is I was a product manager, let's say 7 years ago, and I was kept coming up with feature requests, but having no idea how much time or effort it would take to build these features. So my conversation with my development team was always a bit I would have to ask more questions rather than suggest things, and I wouldn't really fully understand what was going into the development process. So I went to learn to code. I did a boot camp, the Ironhack boot camp, it's a 12-week coding boot camp, just to give me the essentials of what web development was. Um, and whilst I was there, it seemed that there was so much lost information between, the advertisement of come to a boot camp and learn to code, and then what it actually looks like on campus. And even then, there's lots of information they can't tell you because it's, all the effort you have to put in before and after the boot camp to get this job. So we just started the podcast just to speak to other people. It's such a wealth of stories, and there's people from all different backgrounds there. So we just started the podcast talking to people, asking them how they got into Ironhack, what their journey was before. Yeah, and it's been 3 years now. It's just been moving along quite well. And we spoke to some amazing people on the podcast. It's really great. I mean, as I'm sure you know, some of the being able to speak to some guests that we have is just, it really keeps me on top of my game as well. Being able to speak to these amazing, incredible people and just get insights from all these different directions. It's great.
Well, it feeds this community that you're talking about, and can help with exposure and introducing again new ideas to that
Yeah.
group as well.
Exactly, it all goes hand in hand. It's all in the tech space, and obviously the podcast is more to help newcomers into the world of tech, and the community is really just to create space for people who are, maybe moving parallel, maybe looking for a new job, or maybe just trying to find new connections or trying to solve a problem. So, yeah, they're all one and the same.
Yeah, let's talk about a couple episodes that have stuck out to you, and I even enjoyed them myself. But Sarah Duty was one of
Mm.
them.
Yeah,
Mastering the Tech interview.
yeah. So she's awesome. So Sarah Doody has this approach of treating people like a product. So although she teaches you to teach your career like a product, sorry. So it's like you should consider your career as like an ongoing as a life cycle, and make sure you're always checking in with it and journaling things. So even she suggested this really awesome thing on the episode of even if you only journal your job, like let's say once every 3 months, just something you've done, some small achievement, then when you do get to the point of searching for a new job, or you're looking for the new interview, these questions of, okay, what have you done? Name a problem you've solved in the last 5 years in your career. You have that information stored away, and it's very low effort, but it's such a huge benefit. And her approach at that, helping people, keep their careers as like an ongoing project is really, it seems really obvious when you say it out loud, but it's such a great way to look at it, to see it as treat your career like a product, or the product of you, and how you've iterated, how you've developed, and the features that you've added to yourself. And yeah, so she was a really, really great guest. She was really insightful, and she's such a great talker, and she was really nice. So she's definitely a highlighted guest. I recommend listening to her episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, we hear a lot of like treating your life as if you're the CEO and it's a business, and hire and fire accordingly, I think is a
Yeah.
common term we hear, or your board of directors, which is awesome. But when you're talking to a product audience, you can get even more direct in the world that they understand and what they eat, sleep, and drink every day by getting this analogy even tighter and helping them think of it as they would approach any kind of product development.
Exactly. And until I had that episode, again, I know it sounds obvious when it's said out loud. I hadn't really thought of it in those terms, and it makes so much sense to treat it like that. Like if I have a product, and I'm developing a product, and I'll iterate, and I'll look back on what I've learned and use it to move forward. I feel like it's a very, almost like a no-brainer, I guess is the word, as to how you should
Mm-hmm.
treat your career in that sense. So now I do that. I treat everything I do as just another feature in the roadmap.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the cool thing too about how you approach the interview process, not only for your podcast, but when you're interviewing users as well. It's very thorough, and you've fine tuned it over the years. Could you like bubble it down to a couple examples for us of the uniqueness of your interview style and interview approach when you're looking to approach an end user, or even a guest on your podcast, to make sure you're getting the best out of them?
I think that, I mean, if you're interviewing, let's say even if you're doing a user interview, or if it's a podcast interview, or whoever I'm speaking to, it's always for me about finding some time before the interview, even if it's a few minutes, to talk about something that isn't the topic of the interview. I find this helps a lot more. Let's say you're doing test users, right? So if you're having you're sitting in front of one of your users and you want them to critique your product, people are inclined to give positive feedback because they don't want to criticize too much. Some people like to, but a lot of people they'll be more inclined to not criticize things. But that's what you want. You want them to feel comfortable in giving you negative feedback so you can build your product. So I always find at the beginning of those interviews, I make a real effort to find some common ground on something that isn't the topic, that isn't, let's just talk about this feature we're talking about today, or this test we're doing. Let's just find something outside of it that isn't about the product and isn't the weather. It's important it's not those two things because the weather's so generic. You have to find some common ground. It's the same if I'm doing an interview with a podcast guest. I always try and make sure we have some time just to talk about something outside of the interview, just to make sure that everyone's a bit more comfortable. And it's incredible how much difference it makes when someone is a bit more comfortable and a bit more inclined to speak to you. So yeah,
Oh no, that's a great point. I could not agree more with me also doing this podcast almost 3 years now. There's been a few times with a cold relationship where I'm willing
yeah,
to just do a podcast because we're both busy. We don't have time to prep. And like, well, they've been on 100 podcasts themselves. Like, it'll be fine. And it's just never felt right. You know,
yeah,
you can get your flow by like minute 40, but a lot of it was stiff to get there. And so I've made
yeah,
a rule now that I will not do a podcast until I've met the person in some way, shape, or form ahead of that. And I've never thought about being as prescriptive as like, I want to build a relationship or, work on a topic outside of what we're going to talk about. That's a great tip to add to that. But it just helps with getting the chemistry figured
yeah.
out, getting familiarity. And my goal is just always, hey, I want to know you better so I can highlight you that much better.
Yeah, and it could be anything. The topic could be anything. It's just something that isn't the exact thing. And you are right about that 40-minute thing. It's interesting. What we try and do now is have all of the like hard questions at the beginning. Who are you? Where are you? What do you do? Because they're very easy to answer. And then we get into more conversational things like, between the half an hour, 40-minute mark, and everyone's a lot more relaxed. Obviously, the downside of that is your listeners have to still be there at the 40-minute mark, but there's always when it's a much more interesting conversation. And we also find that's when tangents happen and when people go off on tangents or make mistakes. I think that's the most important thing. Mistakes are far more interesting to listen to than someone just answering every question without any errors. When someone, talks about something completely random or the conversation veers off into some different direction, I find that's always the best content. So
Hmm. So I'm curious, since you're such a product buff and you've got so much exposure to the startup community around it, what are some cool products out there on the market that you think are really doing things right, that are slick, that you would want to incorporate in your day-to-day productivity?
I mean, at the minute, I know that it's almost very cliche right now, but I really love the use of AI tools for product managers right now. I mean, used in the right way, it's completely changed the way that I'm doing product management, or the way that I'm approaching my day to day. So, I mean, it's such a trigger topic right now, but the Chat GPT thing that's happening, using this in unique ways has just been a seismic shift in the way that I approach things. So what I'll do is I'll record an interview, and then I'll take the transcript and just put it straight into ChatGPT and ask it, okay, give me the summary of this interview. What are all the features the user needs, or what kind of problems are they having? It will give me them, and then I can say, okay, what other features on the market or products on the market are meeting these features, and it'll give me them, and then I can keep the same thread and I can use it to be like, okay, given this context, give me some prioritized tickets or tickets I should build in order to meet these needs. And obviously, it's not perfect. You can't just copy paste it, but it's such a great starting point to jump off, and all of this otherwise work that would just consume time more than brain power no longer needs to be consuming time. It's something I can almost automate, and yeah, it's really really great. And I think that this is something that shouldn't be overlooked. I think that it's people are using it as like almost like a new Google, but I think that if you use it in the right way, if you use it in a way that really informs decisions correctly, then it can be really great. One big problem is that people assume, it can't give you answers. You can't ask it, direct like questions. What's the percentage of this happening? It will just make things up. It's predictive language. It's predictive, but you can use it if you give it the right context. You can use it to make huge amounts of work very, very easy. And I'm using that a lot nowadays. And it's just boosted our development cycle greatly.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan as well.
Mm.
I have it incorporated within my email and all Google products now through their solution.
Wow. Yeah.
And as you get more familiar with it, or you do it one time and get a really cool result or really cool answer for something that you're like, let me just see what happens. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
cool, that's repeatable now and can help me. On email, there's even settings like take this text and elaborate, take
Mm.
text and shorten. I'm feeling lucky is an option, which you get some very interesting situations. It's
Yeah.
turned things into songs for me, which has been entertaining.
I think
Um,
there's some people out there like, okay, make these bullet points into an email and send it to someone, and then that person gets it and it's like, turn this email into a bullet point and read it back to me, and then send it back. I'm sure that's happening, but I mean, as all things, it can be misused. I think there's an interesting side of the argument of, I think the same thing that happens when all new technology emerges. People are like, oh, well, then you'll lose connection because you'll just use like when a calculator came out, people are saying, well, you're not doing the math properly, or, and now it's the same with this. It's like, if you're using ChatGPT, you're not doing the work yourself. And I think it's just it's a wrong approach. It's, you're not using it right, if that's true.
so you have an interesting, well-rounded lifestyle, similar to how I like to approach mine, which is it's tech, day job, focus, priority first. But then I've got my drumming and I've got my Spartan obstacle course racing. But for you, I love that your upbringing was a wedding singer, and then you're heavy into the Ironmans and the marathons. How do you still engage in those different areas of your life today?
Yeah, I mean, the music side is fading away. The older I get, the more and more. It's not even. I wouldn't even say it's that sad. It's just less and less time for it. Um, and then I still run a lot, so I'm still doing marathons now. And I mean, I think it's just a key part of life. You have to have a balance, and so for me, it's a great way to de-stress and to get my head straight. So I think that, I mean, it sounds like I have a lot on my plate when we list it all out in such a way, but it's not so much. I think that everything kind of finds its way, everything kind of sorts itself out in the calendar, and there's always time for something like running. So, I mean, it's also great for mental health. Everyone knows, it's great for mental health and stuff. So, yeah, I think I'd be a bit lost without something else to keep me going outside of work.
And have you found folks within your product community that share the marathon or the musical sentiment?
I haven't actually. I don't run with anyone that I work with. I'm sure there's lots of people there. It's not something I usually try to bring up. I feel like the problem with runners is they're always talking about the fact they're running. So I try not to do it too much if I'm, especially in any kind of a meetup setting or a work setting. I try to leave it to the side and keep it just for myself.
Oh, that's funny. I do the complete opposite. If I see a fit person, I'm like, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's the English in me, the quietness. I don't know. I think that I mean, I have running community as well. I have a running community as well. So I think it's nice to keep things separate and I try to keep things keep things in their own place.
Hmm. Well, and some people have the approach where it's more meditative for them to run and do races and things like that. For me, I do it because I love the community of it all.
Yeah.
I can't wait for a race weekend to finally not be working out by myself. Like sometimes I have to during the week because my schedule and I'm up early and it's harder to coordinate with people than to
Mm.
just go get it done. So I look forward to when there's a massive community and I get to share this experience with people that I like.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What is the guiding principle you live by to be successful in business?
I think. It's really, really important to take advice from all directions, people below you and above you and your peers. And I think that it's really important to listen to what people have to say. It's not necessarily you have to follow all advice that you get, but to take advice from all directions has just been such a useful habit of mine over the last 10 years or so. For example, if let's say you're doing a product testing, if someone's willing to give up the time to tell you why your product is a bad idea or why a feature doesn't work, you should listen to them. If they're willing to explain why they don't think it, whether or not you act on that advice is different, but you should take the time to listen if someone's willing to give the time to give you advice. Obviously, if someone's just criticizing you or if someone's just being negative, then that's a different story. But I find that taking the time to actually listen to why people have negative feedback about things, rather than just getting caught up in your ego, let's say, it's such an invaluable habit that I've developed, and it's helped me just tremendously.
Amazing. Dan, this was so much fun. I'm really excited to continue to watch your journey with the Iron Hack podcast and the community that you're building around product. So thanks for sharing a little bit more with us, and we'll see you again here soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.